Do you remember a time when a puddle was just a puddle? When it wasn't a highly reflective floor mirror designed to show off the incredible graphical prowess of your next-gen games console? I cannot believe how hard those rays are getting traced. Yes, stupid old non-reflecting puddles are a thing of the past, as are, for the most part, the enormously long periods of time you have to spend waiting for a game to load, when you start it, when you move between levels, or simply when you die, thanks to the increased power of the new games machines. Good news, you might be thinking. But we're here to put it to you that loading screens were good, actually, and for the following 7 reasons you will come to miss them very much. Now, on to point 1. Oh, it's not quite ready yet. Never mind, let's all enjoy waiting together.
Back in the olden days of the past, video games used to come in a box with something called an instruction manual, which was a little booklet that told you how to play the thing. You also had to leave the house to acquire games, which meant you had plenty of time on your way back to read that manual and commit the instructions to memory, assuming you didn't get attacked by woolly mammoths or die of the bubonic plague on the way home. They were hard times. As time went on, instruction manuals were replaced by in-game tutorials, but the problem with those is twofold. One, they come right at the start of the game, so if you take a break and then come back to a game, you're bound to have forgotten everything you learned. And two, they come right at the start of a game, when you're most excited to get in and start playing, and so will definitely skip a tutorial if you're given the option. Thankfully, our old friend loading screens was there to pick up the slack. Developers realised that the time you were spending staring at the screen waiting for it to load could be time you were spending learning how to play their game properly. For those willing to pay attention during these kinds of loading screens, you can learn everything there is to know about the game you're playing, with advice on everything from levelling up, to weapon advice, to advice on getting advice. These loading screen tips have become so ubiquitous that some developers even play around with them, using them for dark meta commentary on the game itself, such as in the case of Spec Ops: The Line, or rude jokes, as is the case with, of course, The Witcher. Sadly, games now load so quickly that if there are tips for you on the loading screen, they're gone before you even get a chance to read them. Wait, what was that about gardening? Hang on, what does X do? Sorry, what's that about my save? Yakuza like a dragon? Man, I hope that doesn't come up later.
Howdy, Night City. Welcome back. My guest tonight is Lieutenant Sarah Kokoski, spokeswoman for the NCPD. Hi there. Welcome to the show.
With video games often stretching into the tens of hours, you can forgive us for not being able to remember every little thing that happened right back to the beginning of the game. Wait, Sonic's a hedgehog? But he's blue! When you think about it, loading screens are ideal for delivering, supplementing, or recapping the game's narrative. The mandatory wait as the next level loads offers the perfect opportunity to flesh out the story during a period where you aren't busy in the middle of a huge firefight, concentrating on tricky platforming, or wrestling with a fiendish puzzle. Except for the puzzle of why sometimes the bar goes slowly and sometimes it goes quickly. Why is that? That's why Call of Duty uses this downtime to conjure up lots of satellite imagery and a gruff mission briefing to deliver vital intel.
Welcome to the 141, best hand-picked group of warriors on the planet.
And why in the darkness you're treated to some of Jackie Estacado's much less useful subway philosophy.
Using the New York subway's kinda like playing dodgeball, okay? You can only avoid trouble for so long, but when you do get in a line of fire, you better know how to fire back.
That doesn't make any sense, whether you're talking about the subway or dodgeball. Best of all are the games like Vast RPG The Witcher 3 that recognise that when you load a saved game, it could be 6 months since you last touched the game and you've almost certainly forgotten every single plot point and every character's name, including your own. To remedy that, it offers you a quick recap of exactly where you are in the story so you can get right back up to speed with the adventures of Geralt.
After many trials and tribulations, Geralt finally learned that Yen was in nearby Vizima.
Geralt. I knew that.
John! I'm okay! Let's go! Just stay close to me!
The way to get really good at a video game is to be constantly playing that video game, which is why the pros have a second console set up next to their first console so they can switch over and keep playing during loading screens. There's also a doper situation we don't need to get into.
I see you.
Sadly, we don't have that double screen arrangement because we're not as rich as, let me check my notes, Ninja, so for the rest of us there are thankfully games that gave us the opportunity to practice playing them within their actual loading screens. The loading screens in Bayonetta, for example, spawned you into an infinite void with nothing as far as the eye can see except for high kicks and gun shoes, then left you to figure out cool combos for yourself while the next bit of the game loaded behind the scenes. The loading screens in Shaun White's Snowboarding, on the other hand, dropped you into an infinitely long half-pipe of immaculate snow, such as God might shred on, so you could keep your gaming fingers warmed up and limber between bouts of actual play. And who can forget Assassin's Creed loading screens, in which you control the assassin du jour in a kind of moody animus limbo, where you get to sharpen your skills at one of the key pillars of being an assassin, which is running as fast as possible in small circles.
What are you doing?
Hey, you never know when you're going to need that turning circle. The Pope corner's like he's on rails. Now, with the advent of split-second loading times and fewer loading screens overall, gone are the days when you could rehearse a powerful combo or practice snowboarding before launching back into the game proper when it had loaded in its own sweet time. Now, I guess we'll just have to get good at the game by playing the game? Is that a thing? Doesn't sound right.
Let's just call mid-game loading screens what they are, a welcome break. Video games can be a relentless gauntlet of world-saving and good-doing, and when you take loading screens away, you take away an enforced moment of relaxation and perhaps even reconnection with the world around us.
Spider-Man saves the holidays.
And by relaxation and reconnection with the world, obviously, I mean looking at our mobile. Yes, in Spider-Man on the PS4, in between missions, we could check our phones while Spider-Man checked his phone. With the new PS5 version, Spider-Man Miles Morales loading from a lightning-fast SSD that effectively eliminates loading times altogether, we're able to almost instantly whisk ourselves to the next location after every mission.
Another Christmas gone, another year without a birthday.
The result is that we're launched into some more crime fighting before we've even had a chance to think, let alone text back that concerned parent who hasn't heard from us in 3 days.
App's picked up another crime. Weapons deal.
If I get really quick, I might be able to type "send food!" in the couple of seconds while the screen fades to black. Damn it! This absence of any downtime whatsoever genuinely makes it harder to switch the game off too. It appeals directly to your base desires to complete just one more mission, regardless of the fact that it's 3 AM on a Sunday night, and you have work at 9 AM in the morning, and also you started playing on Saturday evening. So, whether your social obligations are to contact your fellow humans or simply maintain the sort of sociable hours and basic personal hygiene that might encourage them to contact you, loading screens offer a much needed break from the very serious business of saving the world.
Over 200,000 carrier pigeons were used during World War II. The first...
Gotcha.
Mostly serious.
There is basically no treat greater in life than landing in a loading screen and realising with joy and wonder that the loading screen you're looking at is in fact a little game all of its own. Like Starblade here inside of Tekken 5. It's like finding an onion ring in your french fries. In fact, it's such a genius idea for a game to load in a simple, enjoyable minigame for you to pass the time and cleanse your palate between proper bits of actual game, that you might wonder why everyone wasn't doing it back when loading screens were more regularly a thing that took substantial amounts of time. Like with Galaxian here in the Ridge Racer loading screen. Well, wonder no more, because the reason so few games have amusing minigames in their loading screens is that video game publisher Bandai Namco filed a patent in 1995 for so-called auxiliary games you could play while the main game loaded in the background to avoid, quote, unnecessary wastage of time. As a result, you would only find such loading screen minigames in Namco games, like how you could play Galaxian in Ridge Racer, or whatever the heck is going on here in Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. That patent did expire in 2015, but now it looks like we'll never see a resurgence of novelty minigame loading screens because 1. Back in 2015, no one seized the opportunity to sandwich an Angry Birds clone between levels of their military shooter, and 2. Long loading screens will soon be completely obsolete themselves. So say goodbye to those rare, precious minigames tucked away inside your proper games. Who knows? The next Elder Scrolls game might not even have loading screens with that thing where you can rotate an in-game model slowly around in empty space. Ditto Fallout 5. If you want to get your face this close to a Deathclaw, you're going to have to walk up to them in-game and have a word.
What is that thing, Lieutenant?
Hell if I know. We're landing on it.
As we all know, music can transport us places. It can take us back in time to our youth, immerse us in a fictional world, or music can transport us to a festival organised by Ja Rule that turns out to actually just be a building site that we then can't escape. Music's amazing, folks. That's why the music in loading screens is so important. It's an opportunity for the soundtrack to carry us from the butt imprint in our sofa to the world of the game we're playing. Which is pretty impressive because, I'll be honest, this butt imprint is getting harder and harder to climb out of. The soundtrack's job to, over the course of the loading screen, whisk you away to the outer reaches of space, the beaches of Normandy, or wherever the hell Lollipop Chainsaw is supposed to be taking place.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Inside the head of a 13-year-old boy? I don't know. Usually, the loading screen music is just a chance to enjoy the fine work of the game's composers, or at the very least, the bands they chose for the soundtrack. Occasionally though, the soundtrack in the loading screen is integrated into the loading process itself. Take, for example, how in the original Halo Combat Evolved, the Gregorian chant begins with a single voice, and then builds to multiple voices as more of the game loads. If only Pope Gregory I, for whom Gregorian chant is named, was here to witness this now. I mean, being from the 6th century, he'd probably immediately denounce the game, the console and the television it was playing on as works of Satan, but I like to think he'd enjoy the singing.
As with a lot of things, gaming requires you to be in the right frame of mind if you're going to do it successfully. And guess what? That's yet another thing that loading screens helped with. Is there anything they can't do? Let's say it took 5 minutes from turning on your console to being actually in a game. That's 5 minutes you could use to get physically and mentally prepared for the game you're going to play. If it's Tetris Effect, you switch your mind over to thinking only about blocks. If it's Grand Theft Auto Online, you stamp down your sense of human empathy and get ready to ruin some people's days so you can drink their delicious tears. You know, normal gamer stuff. Games dumping you directly into the action doesn't let you do any of that, and it's even worse when you have things like the Quick Resume function as seen on the Xbox Series X.
Simulation activated.
Quick Resume is great, in theory. It allows you to resume your game exactly where you left it, even after turning off your console, even if it's been several weeks. Great, in theory. What this tells me is that the tech boffins at Xbox have never angrily quit a game due to its non-stop bullshit, because I do not want to reload a game a week later, only to be plunged right back into the very instant of that same bullshit. Oh, that's right, I was doing badly at Tetris Effect, and I was angry and frustrated. Now I can quickly resume my bad mood. Thanks, Tetris Effect.
Close your eyes so you see my vision. Unite the souls so there's no division.
Thank you very much for watching this video. Please do like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and if you really want to help us out, you can click that little bell notification icon to be notified every time one of these lists shows up. Plus, all the other cool stuff we do here on Outside Xbox. If you'd like to, without very much waiting at all, head straight on to the next video. We have them both up here, one from us and one from our sister channel, Outside Extra. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.